So here we have our collarless front. I have picked a fabric with a highly visible right side and wrong side. So this lighter side is the right side and this darker side is the wrong side. And I've marked all my markings on the wrong side. Hopefully you can see that. And I've also finished the edges as per the instructions. So you're going to want to make sure all your markings are in place on the wrong side. I've used a permanent marker here because this is just an example. We're going to start with the shoulder dart tucks. These are pretty straightforward, so we'll start with those. So you'll want to grab the fabric and fold it right sides together and match your notches up the top here and match your markings at the bottom here. So I would use a pin, put my pin in, and I would recommend using one in the center here as well. Making sure that's not lined up there. So I just shuffle the fabric a little bit, move where the fold line is, and keep testing it with my pins until the lines are on top of each other. They're now on top of each other all the way up, and I'm neating that one up. So it's ready to stitch. So I will move my pins before I stitch it with the machine, and I'm just going to back tack here and go all the way down and back tack at that bottom one. So before I stitch it, I'm not going to sew with the pins vertical, I'm going to move them to being across the fabric, just so that I can take them out easily as I go. Okay, so this is my first sew and dart tuck. You can see that I have started up here and gone down to here, and that's ready to fold back, and now I'm ready to repeat the same process for the second one. So again, folding right sides together, matching the notches, matching the lines all the way down. Just following that line all the way down. And taking out my pins before I get to them. Cool, so now we have 2 dart tucks sewn. This is what they look like from the right side. Beautiful, beautiful. Alright, so the last step with these dart tucks is just going to be pressing them towards the shoulder and securing them within the seam allowance. The seam allowance is 1 centimetre, so just make sure you're stitching less than 1 centimetre away from the edge, and you're just folding them towards the shoulder seam. This just keeps them in place so they don't get caught in the wrong direction later on. I'm just doing mine about 6 millimeters from the edge. There you go. So that won't show when that final seam is sewn, but it's just keeping them in, headed in the right direction. So just in case you're confused a bit about which edge you're pressing them towards, this curved edge here is the arm side. This is the shoulder point here, and you're pressing them towards the shoulder point. You're not pressing them towards this finished edge. So hopefully that makes it nice and clear. We're ready to get on to the very exciting diagonal dart tucks. Alright, so now we're going to sew the first set of diagonal dart tucks. So we're going to be matching this line here to this line here, same way as the previous dart tucks. Folding it right sides together like so, and you'll know you're doing it right because that V will sit on top of each other nice and neatly, and just do it like the last ones really. Okay, so I have matched these lines on top of each other. I have placed my pins in. I like to do it horizontal so I can stitch down without really hitting those long pins. I'm going to do the same, back tack, take my pins out as I go, stitch all the way down, and back tack at the end. Look at that. So that's our first lower dart tuck, and we will do the same with our second one. Again, folding it right sides together. I will sort that out and show you. I've got my pins situated perpendicular and I'm ready to sew. done. Okay, so now we have both of the diagonal dart tucks sewn, you can see, and these are going to be folded down towards the hem, and we're going to be doing the same thing we did at the shoulder, and that is tack them in place going down. So I'm just going to do that now. Just do it close to the edge. Do it 5 millimeters away. Make sure everything's sitting flat. Again, it does not matter if you do it neatly because it will not be shown when it's sewn up. But that's what that looks like. Oh, here it is from the right side. Things are coming together indeed. Okay, so here's where it gets clever. We've got this marking, the square marking, and these lines here. Those are for the central dart tuck, and it's clever because it transforms from a dart tuck at the base and turns back to become a turn back facing for the neckline at the top. So I know that sounds a bit crazy, but just trust the process. So what we're going to do now is again fold right sides together, so we're matching these squares on top of each other, and we've also got a triangle up here that's going to match to this. So I will fold those, and these lines, these edges are not going to be on top of each other. So I will pin this in place and then I will show you what that looks like. Alright, so this is probably the most complicated part. So I've pinned it up and I'm going to explain it to you. So again, I've folded it right sides together. I've matched the square markings at the base and these lines to each other on either side. Now the part that might confuse you is the triangles and the part up here. So there's a triangle marking here and there's a triangle marking here. They need to be on top of each other. The thing that's confusing is that this is a facing, so it's extended, but this side uses the standard 1 centimeter seam allowance. So if you need to, if it's going to help you to draw that in, starting at the triangle, this is going to have a 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way down to where it becomes this tuck, and that's going to match to this line on the other side. So I've matched that all up with pins. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to start at the triangle, back tacking. Again, 1 centimeter seam allowance. It doesn't match to the edge here. Do not worry, that is normal, that is correct. I'm going to go all the way down, so I will do that. And yes, you're going to be stitching through all these multiple layers of these pleats here. And when we emerge, we're going to be matching these lines together. And back tacking. Oh, mine looks, I think I did a little wobble there. You can see I've gone off my line. I did a little wobble, so I can just go over that bit and straighten it up. I didn't match it perfectly there either, so there you go, everyone makes mistakes. I can fix that with a little bit of a redo. But let me open it up. I hope that helps you be a little bit less concerned with your imperfection there. And it's really starting to take shape. See how this is going to turn back along there, along the neckline. And this is already wanting to turn back, and these form the turn back facing, so that neckline has that nice clean edge, right? So just to reassure you that no one's perfect, I've just redone that little bit where I shimmied off by a few millimeters, and I don't even need to unpick the original because it's all going to be pressed to one side, so it's not going to make any difference. Nobody has to know. So I hope that gives you the gist of what's happening. You can see how when I press this towards the side, it's already wanting to have that facing turn back like it's doing there, and where we've stopped is where the facing is also going to come back and sit against the neckline there. So hopefully that is helping you visualize what's happening there and how lovely and clean that will look when we look at it from the right side. Very exciting, no? So that's it for the technical dart tucks on the front. I hope that helped you put it together. There are a few things that I would hold off doing until you've tried it on, so I'll show you them now. but I would check the fit of the neckline once you've gotten further along and then do these things. So one of those things is eventually you are going to fold this down along the notch, and you are going to tack that down with stitching within the seam allowance to keep it in place. Just through these layers here, because we don't want it visible on the outside. And you can also finish this collection of raw edges at that stage as well. The other thing you might want to do is, depending on your fabric, if securing it at these edges is not enough and it still bothers you or wants to flap out, you can put some double-sided fusing in here just to tape that down, or you can top stitch along that edge if you prefer, just to keep it all in place. But again, I would do that once you're satisfied with the fit. But yeah, now you can just enjoy the rest of the process being a lot simpler and enjoy the fact that you've made some very interesting looking intersecting lines that flow along the body and surprise everyone with what a sewing genius you are.